Good morning, friends. Welcome back to Astrology Today and Tarot. My name is Mel Rose. This is the Tarot portion and the second half of my daily astrology vlog, which you can check out on my other channel, Astrology Today with Mel Rose. Over there, you will find a description of the day's astrology as I've spelled it out here. Here, I'm going to discuss the tarot card that sits on the side of the page, and then I will play another card that, in the context of the day's astrology, may give us something more to think about. So, let's get into it. The card that currently sits on the side of the page, and just for one more day, just for today, friends, is the Six of Cups. And the Six of Cups is here because it relates in astrology to the second 10 days or the second decan of the sun's transit here in the land of Scorpio. Now, Scorpio is a water sign, and cups in tarot are water element symbolism. And water element symbolism has to do with our feelings, okay? Emotions, intuitions, feelings that arise. What is the bodily sensation that comes with that? What is the information, the intuitive information? And also, what are the questions that arise with those feelings, right? And so we come to the Six of Cups. And the Six of Cups has a lot to do with, it points to like a happy reverie, right? We have a fond memory of some point in our past, in our lifetime. And, perhaps this is from childhood. Perhaps it has to do with a person who was kind to us and included us when we needed that. Or, perhaps it has to do with, a place, a different setting than the one we're in now, or just a different group of people than the one that we're around now. A place where we felt really supported, secure, and happy, and we have really fond memories of that time and place. So this card can indicate that somebody might show up from the past and, want to share fond memories with you. It may also, indicate that you are finding reasons, for some reason, to revisit, past places, past people, past situations, in your own time, in your own life. And it comes with it a little bit of a warning that we can have illusions about the past, especially when it comes to our fond memories. We can have illusions, about the time of year that it was happening, or just what was going on around us. Because if our experience was so good, that doesn't mean that everybody was having a good experience at that time, right? So be aware of that, and also be aware, of this tendency, like if we get really involved in thinking about our fond memories of the past, or say that friend shows up out of the blue from the past, and you get deep into the conversation of the history and just that fond remembrance of what you had before. It can sort of blind us to what is going on in the present moment around us. Okay, so be careful about the tendency to be giving ourselves or to be getting illusions from other people, for the sake of fond reverie. And with that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn this card over. We got the Nine of Swords. Okay, so this to me is like the bad anxiety card. And I was listening the other day to the Arcane Dames podcast. If you haven't heard the Arcane Dames podcast, these people are really excellent. They are they're both tarot readers, and with experience working with the public. And they do a weekly podcast where they talk about one card per week and just their experience reading for other people, but just what that card brings up for them in different situations. So the Nine of Swords, and they did that one recently. That's why it makes me think of it. One of them said, it's almost as though you have too much to think about, right? Swords are about our thoughts, plans, and communications. And it's almost as though there's just so much going on right now that how can I get any sleep, right? But it also comes across to me as a really anxious feeling, like clearly this person is sitting up in bed. They're tired. They look a little bit distressed. And the way those swords are placed, it almost looks like, a sword going through the top of the head. I can see sort of 4 chakras there being pierced by swords, from the head down to the heart, from our spiritual connection down to the heart. And, when there's so much going on in our minds, it can be hard to think straight anyway. It can be hard to how do I say that? It can be hard to keep our own thoughts and plans straight given almost too much information or almost too much input from other people. Also, what comes up with swords is that people can be very unkind, ourselves and others. At times we use our thoughts, words, and plans in ways that harm other people, and that can cause somebody to lose sleep, either if you were the one who did that, or if somebody has done that to you, whether on purpose or not. So in any case, this can be sort of the long dark night of the soul. All right, we see that it's the room is very dark, and we even have this like life, this sort of resemblance of life and better things, that we can lay our head on, that we can cover ourselves with, but we can't even kind of enjoy the comforts that life has to offer at this time because whatever is going on in our hearts and our minds. And look, anxiety isn't a joke, friends, and a lot of people don't just have anxiety. A lot of people are actually coping with PTSD, which, I'm gonna just say this and say this. I'll go past that. A lot of people are coping with anxiety, depression, PTSD. A lot of people are coping with, attention deficit syndromes, stuff like that. And so, the thoughts can get really jumbled up in there. And especially, if we're having a lot of negative thoughts, if we're dealing with the negative words of and actions of other people, or if we're just dealing with our own, sort of self-sabotaging thoughts, it can be a detriment to your physical health. Now, understand that, okay? We're talking about mental health problems, and I'm going to tell you now, mental health problems are physical health problems, in part because your brain is part of your body, right? Okay, so really, if you have a mental health problem, if you're struggling with your mental health right now, that is a part of your body that is asking you for help. So if there is some way for you to go get mental health help at this time, it's a good idea to do that. If there is, if you are losing sleep, then you are really doing yourself a disservice, because when we lose sleep, then we can't be, as good at cognitively functioning. We're not as good at physically functioning. Sleep is like one of the most important things for personal hygiene, making sure that you have had enough rest so that you can, be bright and ready and clear-eyed, and your body is ready to do whatever it is that you need to do with it during the day, right? So if you're having this mental physical health issue, please reach out to a friend at least. Please, talk to somebody. If you can't seem to sort of get out of your head with all of these thoughts, find a buddy, okay? Find somebody who can help you, or, help yourself by seeking out some counseling of some kind. And with that said, I'm going to look at how this looks on the page. What's all the anxiety about on the page right now? Well, I'm coming back to these oppositions between Sun, Mercury, and Venus and Uranus at this time. This can be, one thing that I want to say is that, our brains don't really know the difference between being excited and being distressed. Okay. So if we're excited, it can be for a good reason, or it can be for an upsetting reason. And, Uranus brings the excitement. It brings the change. It brings, sort of sudden shifts in perspective. And it's sitting here in opposition. So opposition is a potential for conflict, sort of with our ability to sort of shine in the world, to show up as our best selves, with our ability to think, to be cognitive about what's going on around us in our life, to make plans, to decide what we do on the day to day, and also, with our receptive hearts, our desire to draw in love, attention, affection, gifts, compensation, the love and money that we need in the world, right? So the resources, the how do we say, the sort of human resources, the emotional resources we need, and also the physical resources we need. And Uranus has been over here in Taurus, just shaking up the supply chain. Sort of like, oh, you like that, do you? You can't have it now. How hard are you willing to work for it? How much do you want to pay for it, right? And this is all, Uranus is really kind of part of our management team. Funny enough, it's an outer planet. Its impact is on broader groups of people as it moves, and it's just about shifting our perspective. It's somewhat scientific. It wants us to use better technology. It wants us to be open to the things that we can realize when we do use better technology. But it's really going to bring surprises for us no matter what. And so probably this past week or so, when we've had all these Uranus oppositions to these personal planets, we've been seeing some shifts and changes, some surprises, and perhaps even just some really potent anticipation of things, that we want to, the changes that we do want to see happen, right? So we can be feeling a little bit conflicted about that. It can be a little bit upsetting, or even just too, so exciting, perhaps, that we can't shut our minds off and get some rest. So whatever it is that you're anticipating right now, or whatever changes it is that you're going through that are stressing you out, that are exciting either in a good or bad way, that are keeping you from getting sleep, that are keeping you from taking care of yourself, we have to still be able to take care of ourselves, okay? We have to still be able to try to clear our minds and take advantage of the comforts that life has to offer. Okay, we need to get the rest while we can. And look, these oppositions are here, and they are bound to bring about some sense of conflict, but also, they're supported by all this sextile energy here. These sextiles create this bowl. It's called a cradle that connects one end of that opposition to the other, especially right now with Sun and Mercury. And so, that's Pluto here, our blessed ability to move through transition and transformation at this time. And Neptune here, our blessed ability to see clearly what our intuitions are telling us, to create with clarity, to feel and understand what it is that's going on in our imaginations right now. And that's Jupiter as well. Sort of our blessed ability to think bigger things for ourselves, imagine bigger things for ourselves, imagine, getting out in the world more, imagine getting that higher education we're looking for, or that, that opportunity that helps us make more money so that we can move about more freely. So, we know what we want, and we see that we're going through transitions. We're even blessed in these transitions. We're also blessed in this sort of knowing what we want and being able to dream big for ourselves. Look at all that trine action there, trine action crisscrossing through here. So we can feel those blessings, okay? It's a good thing, I think, to lean on those blessings and the way that, they're working together with our conflicting energies right now to sort of help float us through this time of transition. Okay, and put together with the Six of Cups. Sometimes part of getting stressed out about changes that are coming up, part of worrying and thinking about, like, what am I going to do after this happens? What am I going to do after this change comes? How am I going to, how am I going to find community again? How am I going to be close to my family if I go somewhere else? How am I going to, sort of carry on without, the good stuff that I have behind me in my past sort of with me? Well, you do have this, you have your past with you, in the form of your memories, and you can recall the way you felt and you can recall the sort of support and inclusion and love you experienced, and you can bring that support and inclusion and love with you, into the future, whatever the future seems to hold, right? And perhaps, you feel like you have talked yourself into something that you're not sure that you want now, or perhaps you feel like you have talked yourself into something that's taking you away from this sort of, ideal that you have, this idealism you have about things as they were. But look, the idealism that we have about things as they were is simply that. It's idealism. It's not a full picture. That, if something we look back on was only and ever happy, then I guarantee you that we weren't having the full experience, or we're not recalling the full experience, because full experiences include, happy times and sad times. They include, joys and wins, and they also include losses and disappointments. Okay. So, we put the past behind us for a reason. We have to move on with our lives at some point. Most of us don't ever get to stay, sort of in that situation. And if we do try to stay in that old situation, it just becomes stagnant and it becomes a poor situation for us eventually anyway. So whatever is going through your heart and your mind right now, as you look back on the past, perhaps it is that you remember the parts that were not so joyful, that were not so winning, or perhaps it is just that you hate to put that behind you. Still, we need to take care of ourselves, okay? We need to simplify what's going on in our hearts and our minds. We need to find a way to focus on the present, not necessarily the past and not necessarily the future, but what is going on right now. We need to find a way to be in our bodies less than we are in our minds, especially if we're feeling like this. We need to get grounded, okay? Find some stability in your breathing and putting your feet on the ground and feeling your connection to the earth where you can't fall off, okay? And, we need to find a way to do that, to quiet the mind and listen to the body and the heart, so that we can, take pleasure in the comforts that life has to offer right now, as we plan for a future, that includes the good parts of what we can bring from the past, because it includes us. But that can also be, fulfilling in its own way without being exactly like things were before. And I believe that's all I have to say about it today, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. I truly appreciate your presence. My name is Mel Rose, and I'll see you all back here tomorrow for more Astrology Today and Tarot.